Hey guys, it's Mr. Sean here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, today we're going to be doing a little different than what we're normally doing. I know I've said many times we've changed up how things go, and, to be fair, the stuff that I'm doing on Mondays and Wednesdays just doesn't really seem to be finding an audience. The Lost Media still does, but that's not the only thing I want to do with this channel. So for right now, I'm just kind of going to do what feels right, and today we're going to talk about being how to be a decent game master for when you're running like a tabletop role-playing game, but not in the way that I did when I first made the channel. One of the very first things I did when I made this channel years ago was a DM tips and tricks video, and I think a lot of that is still accurate, but I have evolved as both a game master and a storyteller, and I kind of wanted to talk about that today. Now, the reason I've been thinking about this so hard lately is, yes, I have been writing modules for tabletop RPGs, specifically Call of Cthulhu, and I've definitely learned from my first experience, and I'm in the middle of writing my second module, my second scenario, called The Withering Rhyme, and it's definitely caused me to think about it and how I'm going about it and what needs to be done. And also, one of the things that I am now playing Call of Cthulhu, not just Dungeons and Dragons, and that has introduced me to a new group. I actually started running Call of Cthulhu for a group of gamers that previously had been playing Dungeons and Dragons. This was my sister's friend group, and while she does play D&D with me and my friends, I had not really interacted much with hers, and they had recently had a falling out with the person serving as their dungeon master, and they were eager to get back into TTRPGs, and they were interested in trying Call of Cthulhu, which I was also interested in running, so it kind of was very serendipitous. And what I also came to find out in that we have not had we've done a ton of sessions yet, but one of the things that surprised them is apparently not only was their former friend not a good friend, they were not serving as a good dungeon master. So my style of yes and game mastering or DMing or keepering, because in Call of Cthulhu it's the keeper of arcane lore, one, it was very different for them, and two, it got them very excited in the game. And that got me thinking, what is it? What is the difference between good storytelling and railroading, or, telling a story or a sandbox, all these different things? Like, how much freedom do you give your players? And, essentially, you don't want to railroad them. If you just want to tell a story, write a book. But at the same time, you have a story. The story is being told. And don't think of it as they need to be able to do whatever they want to do, or they need to follow your story exactly. Think of it as one of those choose your own adventure books from I know probably a lot of them were made in the 80s. I read a lot of them in the 90s. There were Goosebumps ones. There were plenty of different choose your own adventure books, and I remember them all having slightly 80s-ish looking covers, but I don't know if they were actually written in the 80s. The one that always comes to mind is where I went to elementary school. There was literally a library within walking distance that we would go to, and there was one they had there. It was called Vampire Invaders. It was part of the Choose Your Own Adventure, specifically number 118. And looking it up, it actually was written in 1995, apparently. So I guess technically it's a 90s cover, but apparently this series, as I knew it, did last from 1979 to 1998. So, I guess it might have still been in the style of a 70s cover. Who knows? But anyway, I think this is a great way to go about how you want to tell your story. Sure, especially in modules and not pure homebrew where you're not just making everything up and, you're actually writing something down. Like in this case, both in Heir of the White King as well as in The Withering Rhyme, I am writing this for publication. Therefore, it can't just be made up as I go. It actually does have to have a bit of a somewhat linear narrative. There can be different branching points to it, but you do need a solid, you're telling an actual story. And the story, while it can have multiple endings, ultimately only certain things are going to happen in it. And how do you do that in a way that doesn't feel like you're leading them too much? And I think one of the big ways to go about doing this is not just, oh, I have an answer for everything that you do. You cannot break my world. Because ultimately, don't poke the bear, I guess. Just go with it. But make sure, especially if you're doing a homebrew or you're picking a module, and not all modules are created equally. Not all stories are going to resonate with all audiences. So if you're picking a story or you're writing a story, make sure that it's one that the people you're going to be playing with are going to find interesting and want to engage with it in the way it is. If you're, let's just say, put it this way. If you, I hope that all of you will enjoy The Withering Rhyme when it comes out, and that you'll give it a shot. You might try it at your table, but if you look at it and you read over it and go, wow, my players are not going to care about this story. They're not going to be invested. They're not going to care what's going on, and they might even try to break the story. Well, then it's just not for you, and it's not for your players. Or, if you really want to run the scenario, find a group that it's going to resonate with. In my D&D campaign, which I could not even hope to write that down as an actual campaign module, it has just been all over the place. They have gone, it's far too much of a sandbox, too much is going on, and I did that on purpose because I kind of knew the people I was playing with, and while I left them a giant plot hook in the middle of the city they started out in, only in recent months have they even delved into that plot hook, a giant mega dungeon in the middle of the city, and we've been playing this campaign for years. Sure, we only play once a month, but still, this is years and years of plot, and they've only grazed the surface of what's going on in this world. I actually think the way things are going, they're not actually going to discover the original big bad that I had for this campaign, and one of the other secondary big bads will actually be the one where they kind of reach this campaign's conclusion. But I kind of started rambling. What the point of that is that I have designed plenty of missions and quests and encounters in this game specifically for the people that I know are playing it. That it's going to be like, it's not just about the loot, it's not just about the XP. They get to pick what quests they go on, and there are certain quests that when I design them, I design all kinds of quests, but there's a couple I know this is going to be the one they navigate to. So, maybe your players aren't going to want to discover the ritual behind an ancient rhyme that's since turned into a folk song, and the forces seeking both to reenact the ritual and to prevent it being reenacted. Maybe that's not their thing. Maybe your players just want to catch a murderer or investigate a haunted house, and that's fine. There are plenty of scenarios out there that are like that. So part of being a good storyteller is knowing which story to tell. Anyway, guys, this is really just kind of stuff that I've been thinking about lately because I want to tell a good story. It does mean a lot to me to be able to tell a story and know that it is of quality. I know in some of the times I've covered r/RPG horror stories, I've been very harsh on the DM, and there's a point to that. The idea is that ultimately, while the players have to be held to a certain standard, at the same time, ultimately, whether or not, if you have players that want to be there, that want to engage in the story, and you're still failing because they're not engaging correctly, I feel that you as the DM have made a mistake. Now, if you are playing with people that are just behaving badly and all they want to do is seduce the tavern wench or things like that, then yes, the problem may be the players. But ultimately, I feel like a lot of DMs really just want to tell their story, and it's a way of compensating for the fact that many of us fall into the DM curse, where we are unable to be players in a game, or at least play in a game that we see as worthy of our caliber of role-playing skills. Because a lot of DMs, yes, a lot of us have imposter syndrome, but a lot of us also pride ourselves on our ability to roleplay and make a world, and it's hard to find the quality we think we're giving out as a player, and therefore we try to bring what we want as a story into our own game worlds. And while that is fine, you cannot ignore the needs and desires of your player. So ultimately, yes, you are writing a story. Yes, the story has only so many ways it can end, only so many options they can take. But don't think of it as you writing a novel. Think of it as writing a choose-your-own-adventure story. And that's my advice for today, guys. That's DM Keeper Sean, Mr. Sean, saying just view what you're doing as a choose-your-own-adventure book. And I think you'll see decent results in your attempts to write a narrative for TTRPGs. With all that being said, guys, thank you so much. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mr. Sean. This is Mr. Sean Productions, and I sincerely hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.